we saw was Leno, and he's the villain. And yeah, that's just something you've got to quickly get over. But it's not good to watch.
I think it serves me right, because I was digging Jordan Pickford out before the game.
We weren't going to mention that, but you did. So.
And then, you know, it turned on my own keeper. A keeper, like, if I'm going to be totally honest, he does have spells where he's very, very good. But again, you've seen him. I've seen him rush out and give away, to get himself sent off, seen him give away penalties, and seen him give the ball away. So he has those moments, and that for me was a real moment now. It's a poor goalkeeping.
We will take a closer look at that in a moment, but we're off and running for another Premier League match weekend with a 1-0 win at Everton. A reminder, that is their first win away at Arsenal in 25 attempts. We're back on Saturday with Newcastle's trip to Champions League chasing Liverpool, then a cracking tie between West Ham and Chelsea, separated at the moment on goal difference, and then Brighton go to Sheffield United. 3 games on Sunday, including Manchester United's trip to Leeds United, and it all rounds off on Monday with Leicester welcoming Crystal Palace. So a reminder just how important that was for Carlo Ancelotti's side. Played 32 up to 52. Suddenly, they're only a point behind the reigning champions and 1 behind Spurs with a game in hand. Arsenal are staring their worst league finish in 25 years in the face. They stay third, play 33 on 46.
Mason, how good a feeling is it when you win here away at Arsenal for the first time in 25 years?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I think over the last few weeks we've had hit and miss with the performances. Sometimes we've had the performances and not had the results, and sometimes we've not performed. So to see it all come together and dig deep as a team and get the result is massive, especially a difficult place to come. It's the Emirates at the end of the day, but to get the 3 points is massive to where we want to be at the end of the season. Yeah, just how precious could those points be in terms of the quest for European football? Huge. I think they're one of the teams who wants the same thing as we do. So to beat them and take 3 points from them away from home is massive and goes towards our goal. But we've got to pick these up consistently. I think over the course of the season we've performed in games like this, and then games that we should be winning we've not been getting the 3 points. So it's about consistently keeping this form going on and keeping the results going. With those two factors combined, the goal might not have been the prettiest, but is it a thing of beauty? Best looking goal I've ever seen. Now obviously it's not the prettiest performance, but coming away to a team who loves to play football, it's all about fighting and digging deep and then showing our quality when we've got the ball. I think we did without looking majorly threatening, but there's been points, if I go back to I think the Crystal Palace game where we had lots of chances couldn't score. So to say that we didn't have great amount of chances to get one in is massive for us. What was it like for you, the reprieve with the penalty? Because there wasn't a big shout for offside. Everton defence. I don't know. From where I looked, I didn't think it was. I think it was a harsh penalty anyway. So maybe there's a little bit of justice in that. But like I said, with VAR, you don't really know what's going on. You don't have to celebrate. You don't know. You just have to kind of wait till the result's made. It's all about as well what you do off the back of this and push you on for the remaining games. Yeah, definitely. I think the consistency has got to be there. I think we've showed in big games we've turned up all season, but it's the games where they might not feel so big that we've not gone on and took the 3 points, and there's no one else to blame but us. I think some games we've been unlucky, but ultimately when we've done it as many times throughout the season as what we've done, it can't be luck. So we've got to work on that side of our game and see the season off properly. A few raised voices at the end. Was there a bit of ill feeling? Yeah, I think so. They want me involved in it though for a change, so I'm not really sure what went on, but I'm sure everyone will be friends after.
Yeah, Everton smiling, Villa at home, and then West Ham away next. That's, of course, a reunion with David Moyes. So, Rachel, when you look at that league table, how significant could that win be for Everton?
Well, it was in their hands, wasn't it? That game in hand for Everton. They needed to make it count, simple as that, and that's what they've done. Yeah, it wasn't a pretty performance. It wasn't exactly how Ancelotti would have probably set out to play. But they got it. They got that done. And so what it does is just puts them in touching distance, because if they'd have lost that would have just dropped off. And I think, you know, with the running that they've got, yes, they've got players back, but tonight it didn't seem to kind of particularly gel. Certainly Delph came back in. Great to see him back on the pitch, but you know, there's a few of them who didn't look quite back to their full sharpness of earlier in the season. But it's points on the board at the end of the day. It's like hitting a rubbish golf shot and then it going in the hole. Yeah. You don't care, do you? You know, you've scored.
You don't hit many of those anyway. So, 7 home defeats at the Emirates for Arsenal. Last time that happened, the first year of the Premier League. Another night of of frustration.
Yeah, they did. It's very hard to be optimistic about them at the minute with everything that's going on. You know, I think that's the 8th game now. It's the 8th game they've not scored at home. You know, and you do feel like if the team do score before us, I just don't feel like we're gonna get back in it. And you know, like the commentator said, like Jim Proudfoot said there, you know, asked the first game for them. Europa League was a big opportunity, but you know, like I say, sitting here right now, I don't feel very optimistic. It's not been a great season. You know, everything that's happened recently this week as well. Goalkeeper throwing one in. It's been a terrible week, and it doesn't look. I'm not going to sit here and act like and be all positive, because at the moment I don't feel like that.
OK, let's take a closer look at the defining moment from a goalkeeper's point of view.
Yeah.
Come on, Rachel.
I don't know which makes me feel more nauseous, him letting it in or Richarlison's celebration afterwards. But I'll try to sort of dissect why it goes wrong. I think Richarlison initially was going to cut it back, in James Rodriguez on the 18. But what we'll see now is set position. So look how wide his feet are. They're too wide. And then as he jumps and sets, even wider. Well, obviously, first of all, you can't move as a goalkeeper. You can't take off if you need to change direction. Secondly, as we slowly roll this through, what's called a K technique is where you collapse that left leg in this occasion to close that gap between his 2 feet.
Still
so the
really
ball,
wide, Rach.
So the ball cannot go through.
Yeah, still really wide, isn't it?
Oh, it's way too wide. So this is what sets him up for failure, is that when his knees do go together, there's still that big gap.
Yeah.
I mean, you should get your hands there, of course. I think he's not sharp with his hands. His feet, it's lazy. You move your feet to ensure that they are shoulder width apart. Simple as that. Wherever you are on a pitch, you cannot take off, you cannot move effectively if your feet are much wider than that. So he's lazy. Instead of shuffling that left foot across, he just drops his feet wider, and I mean, that's the consequence of it. As I said at the end, Pickford was the hero by making a top save, and he's the villain. He's got to pick himself up.
Yeah, it was. I think we was talking before about the concentration, and that's the kind of thing that probably comes into it, because you look at that and it does seem very amateurish.
Seems a basic thing,
Absolutely,
doesn't it?
yeah. And I think that comes down with concentration. He's not had too much to do, but then you look at Pickford, the same. You wouldn't say that he had a lot to do, but he seems like his concentration, which we were knocking, was spot on tonight. But you know, it's interesting what Rachel said about how wide his feet went there.
It's lazy. That's purely lazy. And from the first second to the last second of a match, a goalkeeper has to do everything technically spot on, perfectly at full speed. And there, he doesn't do something technically at full speed. He gets lazy, thinks he can cut a corner by not moving his feet. And that's where it gets caught out. And that's, you know, that is ultimately any basic that you don't respect as a goalkeeper can end in a goal.
You can get punished. I thought Everton took very long to really take advantage of the fact that our left side with Xhaka and the way how easily Richarlison went past him was something that they didn't take advantage of right from the off. Simply because I would have just put Richarlison out there. I would have got the ball to him as early as I possibly can. You know that Dominic Calvert-Lewin wants to stay in between the posts and just let him get on with it.
Well, prior to that, of course, Mikel Arteta not happy because Arsenal were awarded a penalty. So first of all, was it a penalty? And secondly, was it offside?
For me, it wasn't a penalty. It's not something I like to see. I think Dani Ceballos is guilty of this kind of thing. You know what I mean? There's nowhere near enough contact for him to go down like he goes down. It's just horrible to see. Look at that.
If anything, he tickles his sock. That is it.
It's nowhere. It's nothing.
It's simulation, though, isn't it? Yeah. That is the word that we've used a lot, which should have ended in a yellow card.
Yeah,
Simple as that.
It's not good to see, because there's the contact there, right? His foot's planted. How does he fall over?
Yeah.
How does he fall over? How is that enough for him to go down like he did? And then this offside, I don't know. Look, these are the little lines. Them little lines, which they're now drawing onto it as well, is because it's too close. If they've got to draw other lines, little dotted lines, come on, man, that's at least level. How are they working that out? Of course he's got to be angry. He's got to be angry, you know. He's talking about the second phase. I'm not sure what's happened there when the ball's gone across. Is there enough time for them to clear it? I don't know.
It was 12 and a half seconds. Let's speak to the former Premier League referee, Chris Foy. Chris, good to see you. We understand Mikel Arteta thinks that's one phase of play. What's your understanding, reading of that situation?
Well, the thing is, Steve, with the attacking phase of play, it really is a subjective thing. You know, it's how the attacking team get possession. Do the defence have an ability to reset? And is it an immediate phase of play? Is it the same phase of play? And that's what they will look at. And what the big thing is with this is it's very subjective. So they look at all those things I've just mentioned. And when the ball comes across, you know, we see this challenge come in. And I've listened to what Wrighty and Rachel have just said, and the referee from his position points to the spot, gives a penalty. So what they've got to do is they've got to make sure that the referee hasn't made that clear and obvious error. And as you know, the VAR will check that. He can see that he's happy and comfortable with the decision, and the penalty stands. And then what they have to do is to look at that attacking phase of play. And what you'll see in the build-up is they put the lines on, and the lines are done by the technology people and the VAR. And in the build-up, Pepe was offside, so the penalty wasn't awarded in the end. I
can't see how they can find that what bit of him's offside there, Chris. And that's the thing. What I'm always going to have a problem with. You know, it almost feels like they're making it up. And
that's the rule, not VAR.
Yeah, it's the rule, Rach. It's just they could literally say anything once they've got the lines that close, Chris. And I'm not digging you out because you're my mate and you're a lot bigger than me. But the fact is that it just feels like it's very close. I want to see those kind of decisions that tight, Chris, given to the forwards simply because that's how it used to be. And this doesn't feel like there's enough for me to say, yeah, OK, I'll see that.
I think what you're saying, right, is, you know, in years gone by, the benefit of the doubt went with the attack, but we now have the situation with you're either on or you're off, and the lines are there. I think the lines we see on the TV, the broadcast lines, are thicker than what they're using in the VAR hub, and they've got the technology to use. And as I said, you're either on or you're off. And we've seen a number of them in recent weeks, haven't we? You know, I think a couple of Fridays ago we saw the one at Fulham Wolves was exactly the same, and we're seeing them. But that is the way it is. That's the technology. And a goal is, a penalty's not been awarded because in the build-up a player was offside. So that's where we are, and that's where we're going to stay.
Oh my gosh.
Chris, just on the subjectivity, so what you're really saying is somebody else sitting in VAR tonight might have thought that was all one phase of attacking play.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a really big talking point, the attacking phase of play. That there is no definitive time, and if somebody went the length of the field, there's no definitive distance either. So people look at that. The VAR tonight felt that was in the attacking phase of play, and as I said, the penalty was overturned. Yeah, subjective, purely subjective, Steve.
That's very difficult to take, Steve, because it should be either yay or nay. Then we can't have it subjective because somebody else gives that. I'll be confused then because next week they don't. It can't be subjective. That for me, that decision, that's got to be like bang on for everybody who sees it in that way. Otherwise, it's confusing. I'm confused.
It's difficult, isn't it, when you bring in VAR to judge offside, which gives you a yes or no answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then it's a little bit muddied with a footnote about subjectivity.
That's the only thing,
phase of
Chris.
play. So
yeah, that's the only thing.
Mm-hmm. And Chris, it became irrelevant, but neither Rachel or Wrighty thought it was a penalty.
Yeah.
If you'd been in VAR tonight, would you have ruled this out as a clear and obvious error?
I think what you've got to do is you've nailed it, Steve. Is it a clear and obvious error? You know what I would say that is? I think that's a modern-day penalty, and I think we've seen a few of them. I think it's also important to say that if the referee hadn't have given a penalty, I don't think the VAR would have said it's a penalty, because I think it's one of those that will provoke debate and discussion all night. Some people will say, yeah, it's a penalty, he's got him on the shin, and some people are subjective on that one.
No, not having that as a penalty at all. Yeah.
Oh, no.
That for me, Chris, I would like the VAR to go in and say there's no way, in the way that he was, the contact was made on his shin, he could go down like he did. We've got to. I think the referees should have the power to make that decision, because I would see that and I said, if somebody said that, I said, yeah, of course he hasn't. There's no way there's enough contact with that for him to go down like that to get a penalty. So they should say, no, that's not a penalty. And people would say, yeah, of course it's not. How's he going to go down like he's going down?
I think the rule is that if it interferes with the player, tell me if I'm wrong, Chris, but if it interferes with the player, it can be deemed a foul. I mean, I still don't even think that's enough to it to be judged interfering.
Rachel, Ceballos is going down because he knows that he can get a penalty for... the slightest and merest of touches which the VAR can pick up. And he's cheating. Let's have it right. That's what he's doing there. You know what I mean? And, you know, I know that one of I think it was Mason saying that maybe it was justice. That it doesn't help because I didn't want to see my team lose, but I don't want to see him winning like that, man.
Chris, thank you for adding to our subjective discussion. Lovely to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
I thought it was good, but that's just subjective.
He's very good. Chris is very good.